Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. Apologies, I'm really late because of frustration. I was busy getting frustrated by all my football feeds that were failing to deliver me the feed for the Man United game against Wolves. Remember, during our morning broadcast, I had promised you guys that we would do a watch along for the Manchester United Wolves game. Unfortunately, we are unable to achieve that because all possible feeds that I tried out failed me. They failed me. Which anyways, it is what it is. It is what it is. So, anyways, we'll just simply focus we'll bring you the updates right from live score. And the game is into halftime with Manchester United leading by 1-0. That goal scored by Bruno Fernandes. A bit of a scrappy goal. Actually, sorry, it's 1-1. Apologies. It's 1-1 at halftime. You know, I said this during the preview for this particular game. I told you guys that my prediction was a 2-1 victory for Man United, and particularly, I thought Wolves would score because Man United just don't know how to keep a clean sheet. They've only kept one clean sheet this season, and that was against Sunderland. So I thought they would concede. Now, I was conceded in very stupid manner, by the way. They concede possession through a blind pass, a blind back pass that is intercepted by Matheus Cunha, who plays in Bruno Fernandes, who had to sort of scrap up the ball while he was on the floor. And so somehow he managed to beat the Wolves goalkeeper in goal. That's Sam Johnston. And I mean, Wolves, it's just too bad. So Man United got in the lead in the 25th minute, but Belgrade scored in the second minute of stoppage time of the first stanza to restore parity for the home side. And I mean, sometimes you ought, I don't know whether to feel for Man United, but they just can't keep a clean sheet. They just can't see out a game, without conceding. And you look at it and you're like, really, you should be doing better than that, really, Man United. You should be doing better than that, Man United. So, anyways, I see Nob. Nob says, hi Nob. Good to have you on the broadcast. Good evening to you, everyone that has just joined us. Welcome to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is my name, and I'm streaming to you live from Kampala, Uganda. And it's 7 minutes to midnight. 7 minutes to midnight. Are you aware of Pop rafts? It's when somebody puts toilet paper. Jesus Christ. Whatever that is. But kindly consider liking the broadcast, but also subscribing to the channel if you're new here. It's a football channel. It's a sports channel. I will get on here to speak all football, matters of football. But sir, anyways, so United could not even keep a hold of their lead until halftime because they conceded late in the first half through that a goal by Belgrade because they could not clear their own lines. So really, and it is 1-1 at halftime. Who is this musty clown? Obviously, a Dusty who is been marinating in their own. Wow. Anyways, so it is what it is. We'll get a chance to review the Manchester United starting 11 and that of Wolverhampton Wanderers. I even forgot to do the absolute usual honors of us having our audios tested to make sure everything does check out. But I'd want to go on a leap of faith and assume that everything is well in as far as our audios are concerned. But yeah, it's a pleasure to be back on yet another Monday evening. For those of you that are regulars on the channel, you will know that we do this every single day, Monday to Saturday, actually Monday to Sunday for our late night broadcasts. That's at 11 p.m. Then we also get to do the morning broadcast Monday to Friday. That's at 9 a.m. For Friday, the evening broadcast, we do that one at around 9 p.m. And then on Saturday, we do a morning broadcast at around 10:45 or 11 a.m. There. But usually that's our timeline for getting things underway to when we get to, review, preview, and discuss what's to come our way in as far as the weekend usually sets up. So we are having my best friend, his name is Carl. He thinks he's good looking and wants everyone to call him Hot Carl. I refuse to call him Hot Carl. Okay. So really, Mo Salah has been left out of Liverpool's traveling squad to Italy for their game against Inter Milan. That's tomorrow in the UEFA Champions League. That's the key news of the day. And yeah, but before we get into the story with Mo Salah, here is how Manchester United, assembled themselves for the trip away to Molineux Stadium. In goal is Sene Lomans, Luke Shaw, Aiden Heaven, and Nusa Mazraoui. I mean, I don't know. Why would you leave Lenny Yoro on the bench? Why would you leave Lisandro Martinez on the bench to start with Aiden Heaven as your pivot in that center back role? Why? It just. I know he's a good player, but he's a young and immature player. So who provides the leadership in that back three? Luke Shaw, of course, you'd think, but I mean, it is what it is. It's Ruben Amorim's team. So ahead of that back three is Bruno Fernandes alongside Casemiro, Diego Dalot, and Amadou Diallo. And then ahead of them is Brian Mbeumo, Mason Mount, and Matthias Cunha up leading the lines. Again, I don't know why Joshua Zirkzee has not been given the start. It is the manager's decision. I do not agree with the starting 11, whether they win, whether they lose, whether they drop points. I just do not agree with that starting 11. It's not like Man United are resting players for an upcoming game, that very soon in midweek they have midweek action. It's not like they're going to play on Thursday in the UEFA Europa League. No, that's not the case. It's not like Man United are suddenly going to play, when is it? That's they have a ton of fixtures, coming their way quite very soon. No, that's not the case. That's not the case here, really. So why on God's green earth would they sort of? Why is the manager taking these kinds of risks? I do not think they're the kinds of risks that you take. One, for starters, I'll maintain Joshua Zirkzee in the starting 11. I'll drop Mason Mount. I know for some reason, Mason Mount is his darling. And, Joshua Zirkzee lead the line. Matthias Cunha play as the left at 10. Then that back line. I mean, I must have a natural center back that is a little more mature than Aiden Heaven. Lenny Yoro is on the bench. Lisandro Martinez. Of course, I wouldn't start Lisandro Martinez. I understand the context. He's just returned, obviously, from a very, very long-term injury. Yes, he's been training for more than a month, and he's sort of getting back to speed. But we know that when you come back from a very long-term injury, usually it takes you a bit of time before you find your footing within the game and things like that. So that I have no issue with, really. That I have no issue with. So, but my point is, that the starting 11 looks too risky for Ruben Amorim. I do not think he should be taking those kinds of risks, So, but again, I've been in part of different forums where people seem to think he's too stubborn. He's stubborn to change. He's stubborn to adapt, but that has been largely used in the context of the system that he uses. The back three, the wing backs and double pivot and the 2 number 10s and things like that. But sometimes even the team selection itself fails him. On one hand, we sit and castigate Liverpool players that are underperforming, and we've been discussing Mo Salah because he's been benched over the last couple of games. And these United players, they have a bad day in office, not just in one game, but a couple of games, and some players will never get dropped. It is what it is. He is the manager. So we'll leave that at that. And on the side of Wolves, they have Sam Johnston in goal. They do have Yassen Mosquera. They have Emmanuel Agabdo. They have Totti Gomez. That's in their back three. In their midfield, they do have Andre. They have Krzyzczyk. They have David Mola. They have Jana Hova. And then they have John Arias. They have Jean Belgrade, and then Jürgen Strand-Larsen. And those are the players that have started. Okay, Job. Hi, okay, Job. Why are you joining us from Job? And what team do you support? It's a pleasure to have you on the channel and on the broadcast. Really. So, anyways, it is what it is. So, away from the events that are happening at Molineux at the moment, here is what I think. Here's the news regarding Mo Salah. So, following a meeting today between the manager, that's Anna Slot, and the senior officials at the club at Liverpool, they made the decision to drop Mohamed Salah, to not include him in the traveling squad contingent to Italy for their tie in the UEFA Champions League. Now, according to a very trusted source, that's the Athletic, they say it's not punishment, but of course, it is consummate with the conditions surrounding, Mo Salah's explosive interview, one that we've discussed at great length in two subsequent broadcasts. For those of you that are just joining us for the first time, please go over to the channel. Under the live section, you'll find our two most recent broadcasts were all about Mohamed Salah. So I do not, in other words, I do not want to go over back what he said and what we think of it. We already passed that. Now, is it the right decision to make to drop Mohamed Salah? I cannot say it's the wrong decision because again, it's their decision to make. That's for starters. Two, the perspective in which we take Mo Salah's interview and the context within which we carry his words, and whether we think they are becoming or unbecoming in the circumstances or in the time in which they did come, our views seem divergent from those of the club and the senior officials. So, if within the ranks of the senior officials of the club, they feel that maybe Mo Salah deserves to be penalized or sanctioned for that interview, it's at their discretion to do so, and perhaps dropping him for the squad for the Inter Milan game is part of taking that direction. So that's within their jurisdiction. So I cannot tell you it's wrong. I cannot tell you it's right. It's within their right to make that kind of decision. So, but at the end of the day, I think this will only maybe contribute to Mo Salah's frustration of not playing, and he's simply frustrated for two main reasons. Having been on the bench for 3 consecutive games, and then now being dropped from the traveling squad. I did see clips of him training with the rest of the team earlier on before they made the trip to Italy. And I mean, you only add to his frustration unless Liverpool are saying, well, we'll wait for the situation to calm down. Let's get to the weekend, play our game against Brighton and Hove Albion, and we send him off for AFCON. Whatever happens at AFCON, maybe by the time he returns, the situation will have changed, or will have the mood or the tempers will have sort of come down, and then we'll take it on from there and continue with Mo Salah. Or they will be thinking to themselves, come January, we need to cash in on our chips, let Mohamed Salah go. Now, if I'm a Premier League team, any big Premier League team worth their salt, for a player who has a year and a half left to his current contract, or Mo Salah's caliber, I'm snapping him up. One, I'm proposing a loan deal, first of all, for half a season. That's until the end of the season. If Liverpool can take me up on that offer, well and good. If they think that they need to take me, I need to do a full purchase, I'm going to take it. Fred Johnson says, I'm Fred from Uganda. Help me, Arsenal injury news updates. We're going to discuss that in a bit after we we finish with Mo Salah. There's an update for you, Fred, regarding William Saliba. So keep it locked on the Football Tribe UG channel. And it's a pleasure to see you on the broadcast. Kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel if it's your first time here. So, you see how Arsenal have a good squad in terms of squad depth. If there is an opportunity to sign Mo Salah for a period of 6 months on loan from Liverpool, I'm snapping that up. If I'm Chelsea, for a player of his experience, given how many young wingers they have in that Chelsea squad, I'm snapping Mo Salah up if the opportunity is there. Manchester United is a no-go zone simply because of the rivalry that exists between the two sides. Manchester City, I do not think Man City would be up for it. I think Man City are fairly okay, even though I do not think they have their right wing fully figured out. So that would depend on Pep Guardiola. He's not the kind of manager that tends to sign such players in that sort of age, 33, and above. But so I do not think Manchester City is an option. So that means Man City out, Man United out of the options. But Chelsea, Arsenal is a no-brainer. I do not know if you would consider going to Tottenham, but if they are worth the salt, that's a deal you put yourself in the frames for it. Outside of Europe, outside of the UK, Juventus. I mean, Inter Milan, Napoli, AC Milan, all the giants in Italian football, possibly AC Roma, where Gianpiero Gasperini is the manager. Never mind that they lost over the weekend, I think by 1-0 against Cagliari. So that would be a return to Rome, where he did play under, Rudi Garcia when he left Chelsea. So, I mean, for Chelsea, it would be a reunion because they signed him from FC Basel. I remember during the time when Mourinho had returned to the club for his second stint with Chelsea. So when you go to, let's say, France, teams like Olympique Marseille, teams like Olympique Lyon. I mean, I do not know Lille. I don't know if they would be interested, but it's a no-brainer. Go to the German Bundesliga. Even Bayern Munich could use a player of Mohamed Salah's caliber. Now, maybe the downside is that they already have a very good player at that right wing in Michael Olise, so their interest in Mo Salah may not be that high. But let's go off to the Spanish La Liga. I mean, Barcelona, Real Madrid, because Real Madrid have so many left wingers, but they do not have right wingers because Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo Goes, Brahim Diaz, they all prefer, playing on that left or behind the stripe, so they do not have somebody on the right. So take him for a year and a half, take him for 2 years. I mean, he's Mo Salah. He's been the most consistent player in the Premier League for the last 8 years. This is his 9th season. So really, for me, if the situation comes in January, of course, during January, he's going to still be at AFCON, but that will be depending on how Egypt perform. But the competition itself gets underway on the 21st of December. So if Liverpool are thinking we must make the trade now, we must do the business now in January, I mean, I'm up for it. For as far as the Saudi Pro League clubs are concerned, it's a no-brainer. Many of them would love to sign him. Major League Soccer, I think he still has the legs within him to play, in competitive football within Europe, really. So for me, that's my feeling. So he was left out of that traveling Liverpool squad for the game against Inter Milan. Anyways, we'll leave that at that. Let's get to Freddie's question because he wants an update on Arsenal's injury concerns. Well, I'll say this. First of all, we are waiting to hear more from Mikel Arteta ahead of their game on Wednesday against Club Brugge. I think they are expected to travel tomorrow to Belgium for that game. And as we wait for that sort of pre-match press conference, for him to give us updates in regards to the overall picture when it comes to Arsenal injuries, because we know there's a whole host of that. Today, what the news that we've been receiving is that William Saliba is back and is set to feature against Club Brugge in the UEFA Champions League on Wednesday. Now, the big question would be: would you risk playing William Saliba in that game, whose significance is not as high as the significance of the Wolves game? I'd say yes. I'd say it's okay. Why? Because he's been out injured. Through injury, he's had ample time to rest. And yes, it's a risk you ought to take. Give him minutes. I do not know if you give him the full 90 minutes, but give him the time to play. At least start him for as long as he's available. Because what that gives you is the opportunity to rest Julian Timber, who at his very earliest opportunity to be rested, that was against Brentford. He had to be brought on early on because Christian Mosquera suffered an injury, and according to multiple reports, he's said to be out for a period of 6 to 8 weeks through that ankle injury. Now, so if William Saliba is back, please play him alongside Piero Hincapié in that centre-back pairing. And then, of course, Ricardo Carafiori, this one limped off. Okay. He walked, by the time he was substituted, he appeared okay. But at the end of the final whistle, when players were leaving, he appeared to walk with a limp. Now, I do not know whether he's injured or he was just cramping and, much fatigue and everything. But if he's available, play him at left back, because over the weekend against Wolverhampton Wanderers, he's going to be suspended for that game, having accumulated 5 yellow cards already this season. So he's going to miss that game through suspension. That means Mazlou Skelly will be the player that you deploy. The risk for me, or the bad memories that will come with that, is Mazlou Skelly was the player that got sent off with a dubious red card as Arsenal beat Wolves by 1-0. And guess who the goal scorer was? Ricardo Carafiori. So that's the challenge there. But then when it comes to the right back, it's a no-brainer. Keep Ben White. He's not played plenty this season, so play him. Then when it comes to the midfield, I think that's where you need to rest players. I think this is the kind of game where you play one Christian Nogard in that midfield. It's the kind of game where you call on to Martin Odegaard. He's just returned from injury, so you need him to get that match with him by playing him minutes. Then you play Ethan Wanyeri in that midfield. Oh, okay, let's not loosen it too much. Play Christian Nogard alongside Mikel Merino and Martin Odegaard. The disadvantage, however, would be is that Mikel Merino and Christian Nogard have never played a game in that sort of midfield partnership. So it's a test in itself. Then up front, play Victor Gyökeres, play Gabriel Martinelli, play Noni Madueke to the right. Simply that. So that means Bukayo Saka gets a rest. Leandro Trossard gets a bit of a rest because he also just recovered from injury. We saw he came on against Aston Villa squad and he was eventually withdrawn for substituted off. So you need those players to rest a bit. You need Declan Rice to rest a bit. You need Martin Zubimendi to rest a bit because the only time I think he's rested is when he's been withdrawn from the game, and then when he missed that game against Slavia Praha because he was suspended. So really, give those players a rest. Give them that room to breathe. Let them breathe. Let them prepare themselves for the game against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Play the Wolves game, fight tooth and nail and win it, and you have a week's rest there until the Everton game. Play that game. After that, midweek, you go again because you play Everton, and then midweek, you play Crystal Palace in the quarterfinals of the EFL Cup, after which I think... Apologies, everybody, on that internet glitch. Unavoidable circumstances. Like I often say, bad things happen to good people, so it's not different from what's just happened to us. So we just have to, take it in, chin in, and continue. But yeah, so apologies. Allow me fix up something here. Okay. Jesus Christ. I know we've lost majority of you, but let's hope you can, return with us. There's a comment coming in from Fred Johnson. Okay, no, that's not it. Okay, I'm trying. Okay, this is okay. Steve Bannon, one of our usual suspects in recent days. Bananas are 59%. Sorry, are 59 cents per pound this week. Is that like US money, or is that US dollars or what? I'm so accustomed to the shilling, so please forgive me. 59 cents per pound. You guys measure your things in pounds. And in the US, they measure their things in what? I'm forgetting, in ounces and pounds. Why would you, is it pounds that they sort of abbreviate as LBS? I mean, what's that? Jesus. Anyways, we'll leave the measurement metrics to the people over there, that side, and not worry about them. Where was I? Yes, we're looking at, we're discussing Arsenal and what their schedule looks like in regards, in the context of their injuries, because we're still responding to Freddie's, question. So, sorry, after playing Everton, they'll play Crystal Palace in the quarterfinals of the EFL Cup, after which they will play Brighton and Hove Albion, and then that will be on the 27th of December. It will be a Saturday, and then the subsequent week, it will be a Tuesday. That means they will only have 2 days to rest before playing Aston Villa. So, and then after which they will have they'll have a couple of days in between there to rest, but only about 3 days before playing Brighton and Hove Albion on the 3rd of January. So you can see the fixtures are coming thick and fast, and yet injuries have not done them any favors. Kai Havertz is one of those expected to return. A short while ago, Mikel Arteta said it was a matter of weeks. He couldn't say whether it was going to be 1.5 weeks or 2 weeks or 4 weeks. He just wasn't definitive, so we keep waiting. But he's been out ever since the start of the season. He only featured in that game against Manchester United, which Arsenal won by 1-0 on the opening weekend of the Premier League season. And then Gabriel Jesus took part yesterday. Was it yesterday? In a behind closed door friendlies game, I think against Manchester United, according to reports. Gabriel Jesus, Max Dorman, and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Now, a lot of you would be wondering, what does Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain have to do with it? Ever since being released by Besiktas, he's been without a club, and Arsenal is, as his former team, offered him access to use their training facilities to, keep training to stay fit. So Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain has been there, and there's sort of been a trend, I don't want to call it a trend, not the right word, but Mikel Arteta has been trying to get matches because previously they played against Wolves. Sorry, against Watford. Yes, it was Watford, not Wolves, in a behind closed door friendly. Every time they have a moment to spare, they play these games to sort of have some of their players that are returning from illnesses or injuries to participate, to get to sort of to speed up their match fitness, levels. I would know for a fact that if you're a football player and you get injured, no matter how hard you train, that match pace, you can only get that in an actual game. You can only get that in an actual game by the feel of, the actual contest against an opponent, So to give them those moments, they've been, leveraging on some of these, behind closed door friendlies. I do not know at what length they are played, but I'd want to assume that usually they do not involve players from the main squad that are already fully fit, that they involve reserve players. So, for example, a goalkeeper, you'd have somebody like Kepa Arrizabalaga or Tommy Setford. You'd call on to some of the youngsters, the likes of Mali Solman, Josh Nicholas. It's just, I think Josh Nicholas went away on loan. But whatever the case is, some of those youngsters from the under 21s and the under 17, that kind of crop of players with the mixture of those players that are returning from injury, for you to get them match fit. Maybe for some of these players that have already returned, depending on how, if they had gotten some game time, maybe you could give them 5-10 minutes, just a bit of a warm up to further again increase on their fitness levels when they do return to action. So really, that's what Arsenal have been up to. Meanwhile, while we were discussing all that, Man United are leading by 3-1 against Wolverhampton Wanderers. In the 51st minute, Brian Mbeumo scored to make it 2-1 with Diego Dalot providing the assist. Released Mason Mount scored in the 62nd minute with courtesy of a Bruno Fernandes assist to make it 3-1. A victory is one that we predicted on this broadcast in the morning for those of you that are regulars on the channel. So it doesn't come as a surprise for me that Man United are beating up against Wolves. Wolves are by far the worst team in the Premier League this season. Prior to match day 15, they had played 14 games and they had not won any. They had only drawn 2. So really, it's nothing of a surprise that they are at the losing end of things right here. So, but yeah, brilliant run, more or less. It's more almost a counter. They almost intercept the ball in midfield, but they can't get to it. Diego Dalot has pinned through, and he just plays in Brian Mbeumo, who manages to score. So really, again, it's routine. It's Wolverhampton Wanderers. You do expect these kinds of things. You do expect those kinds of bad performances from Wolves. And unfortunately for Wolves, the fixture schedule doesn't get any easier because, like I said, their next opponent is going to be Arsenal. And they will be playing, I think, away. Yes, they will be playing away to the Emirates Stadium. So really, it doesn't get any easier for Rob Edwards because they did part ways with Vita Pereira to bring in Rob Edwards, hoping to have a change of fortunes, but nothing has changed ever since he came in. Really, they've not done anything that shows you signs of change. I mean, so it is what it is. It is what it is, really. In as far as the context is concerned for the, this encounter. So Man United, they are leading 3-1 as we speak. Then quickly, there's a lot of speculation coming out of Spain regarding the future of Real Madrid manager Xabi Alonso. Now, unfortunately, these rumors have been there for over a month now. It started with, rumors of some senior players of the club not being happy with his tactics or his rules and things like that. And then today we did receive, an update. And this is via Madrid Zone, quoting Marca. Now, Marca is one of the Spanish newspapers that cover Real Madrid at great length. They said, if Real Madrid lose against Manchester City, Xabi Alonso will be fired. Now, again, whereas I want to take this with a pinch of salt, I know for a fact that Florentino Perez can be an impatient president, especially when it comes with managers. We're talking about a Real Madrid team who, in the last 5 games, in as far as the Spanish La Liga is concerned, have won 1, beating up against, I think, Athletic Bilbao by 3-0. They've drawn 3 against Elche, Rayo Vallecano, and was it Mallorca? And then they got beat over the weekend against Celta Vigo by 2 goals to 0. Of course, they were reduced down to 10 men with the sending off of Fran Garcia. So many yellow cards in that game. So really, to the extent that Madrid TV said that they had gotten a Nigerian referee to officiate the game. So, anyways, when you look at the recent results, even when you go in the UEFA Champions League, when you go back to match day, I think match day 6, they won away against Olympiacos by 5 goals to 4. No, was it 5-4? No, it was 4-3. Yes, Kylian Mbappe scoring all 4 goals for Real Madrid. So whereas they won, they did not look really, really decent. So whatever he needs to figure out, he needs to figure it out quite soon, you know. So, and also according to ESPN, Real Madrid president Florentino Perez met with the club's board of directors to discuss the future of manager Xabi Alonso following the side's 2-0, loss to Celta Vigo at the Santiago Bernabeu. Sources have told ESPN. Now, so on Wednesday, Real Madrid come up against Manchester City. Now, I do not think that any under-fire manager would want to come up against an opponent the caliber of Manchester City. Those are the people you want to avoid. Those are the teams you want to avoid. And guess what? Pep Guardiola, having suffered defeat against Bayer Leverkusen in their last Champions League outing, is going to want to respond. He's going to want a response. And how big a response do you get that does come better than, you beating up against a team like Real Madrid, the most successful team in European football? So really, it would be the perfect response for Pep Guardiola if Manchester City were to go to the Santiago Bernabeu and win a game of football. And let's not forget, those two sides have met quite a number of times in as far as the UEFA Champions League is concerned in recent times, And whereas sometimes Real Madrid have come out on top, it goes without saying that Manchester City have also carried the day on certain occasions. So let's reflect on this. They last met in February. Last season is UEFA Champions League at the round of 16. Real Madrid beat up against Manchester City by 3-1 at the Santiago Bernabeu. Really, they won the reverse fixture by 3-2. They knocked out Real Madrid, and that's how they advanced to the quarterfinals, where they met Arsenal. I think that was the scenario. I stand to be corrected. It may have been the playoff of the UEFA Champions League, but no, I don't want to think so. I think it was the round of 16. So then when you went further back, 2023, 2024, the two sides met, finished 1-1 at the Etihad Stadium, and the reverse fixture had ended 3-3. So the Real Madrid advanced on penalties. That was the 2023-2024 campaign. 2022-2023 campaign, we know Manchester City got the better of Real Madrid at drawing 1-1 at the Santiago Bernabeu and winning the fixture by 4-0 at the Etihad Stadium, and that's when they advanced to the final and beat up against Inter Milan to win their first UEFA Champions League title, beating them by 1-0. That was Inter Milan. When you go further back to 2021-2022, they still met, and Real Madrid beat up against Man City by 3-1 at the Santiago Bernabeu. Really, Man City won the reverse fixture or the earlier fixture at the Etihad Stadium by 4-3. So then you also ought to go back in the 2019-2020 season. The two sides once again met, and Manchester City beat up against Real Madrid home and away by 2-1 in the respective fixtures. So as you can see, it's a fixture that Madrid has won home and away before. Man City have won it home and away before. When you ask me who looks in better shape, I would say Manchester City slightly look to be the better team in terms of how they, come off in terms of their shape and things like that. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how that game, will go about. But what is without a doubt is that Xabi Alonso is increasingly under pressure, and it's sort of the currency that you pay for. It's the currency you pay for managing a team like Real Madrid. It comes with lots of pressures. It doesn't come any different for when you're managing Barcelona, when you're managing Bayern Munich, and all these other European giants. So basically, it is what it is for Xabi Alonso. He'll have to sort of steer on the storm, and if they can overcome Manchester City, maybe it buys him some more time. I do not know. So, but Liverpool fans are already sort of pondering whether if Real Madrid were to part ways with Xabi Alonso, whether you would consider bringing Xabi Alonso to Anfield and things like that. So we can only wait and see how things will go in that regard. Because we know Liverpool tried to win him over. They had a chat with him. They just couldn't get the deal over the line. And he ended up at Real Madrid. So really, where he replaced Carlo Ancelotti. So we'll have to wait and see how all that spans out. But, there've been a bit of tensions among some senior players and the manager. And now the results have not gone his way. You ought to feel for him, really. You ought to feel for him. In a way. Meanwhile, staying with Real Madrid, what's his name? Eder Militao suffered a nasty injury. How was it defined? I'm trying to recall. But he suffered a nasty injury. He's expected to be out for a period of 3 to 4 months through injury. So again, injuries have not helped. Just over a week ago, they lost Alexander Trent-Arnold. Is going to equally be out for a reasonable spell of time. And it doesn't get any easier, especially for a manager who is under fire and some of your most trusted players are in and out of the team through injury. So what he suffered was he suffered a tear in the biceps, femoris muscle of his left leg. So for the medical people, you know what the jargons are, but he did suffer a biceps femoris muscle tear there. So he's going to miss out for a period of 3 to 4 months. So do not expect to see Eder Militao quite soon in Real Madrid colors. Okay. So that's the update regarding injuries with Real Madrid as well. Then Arne Slot's press conference today was interesting. He did speak about Cody Gakpo. He said Cody Gakpo will be out for a few weeks. He's injured. Federico Chiesa is out today because he's ill. So again, injuries. We've talked about Liverpool and injuries. Injuries not helping. So them losing Cody Gakpo at the same time, Federico Chiesa being ill, that's a missed opportunity. Then Arne Slot on Mo Salah being thrown under the bus. He said who he meant. The only one who can answer the question is Mo. It's hard for me to tell who he means. To be honest, I do not know. Ask Mo. That's what he had to say. And still, he said, usually I am calm and polite, but it does not mean I am weak. When a player says things like that, we have to react as a club, and you can see he's not here. So that was Arne Slot speaking to the situation of the club punishing, even though the Athletic wants to tell us that he's not being punished. But that's, the manager telling you that they had to react when a player says things like that. Clearly things that either they do not agree with or think were not in good taste, in their opinion. Um, then on communication with Salah, he said only one communication. We let him know that he doesn't travel with us today. That's it. So they kept it simple. And, Alson was also at the press conference and he spoke about Mo Salah's situation and said, Salah not being available is a consequence of what he did. He's smart enough to know that. We have a good relationship for a long time. He's a legend for Liverpool. We will have a conversation, but it's going to be private because it's a personal. I mean, those will continue. Those will continue. But I just thought, again, I think like pretty much like Mo Salah expected. Here's what Yemi Karaga also had to say on Sky Sports, and he said this today. It was a disgrace what Salah did when he stops in mixed zone. It's choreographed with agents to cause maximum damage and strength on his position. He chose this weekend. He chose this time to go for the manager and get him sacked. Again, you remember Mo Salah said he expects whatever Yemi Karaga will respond with or will regurgitate. I mean, he chose this weekend, he chose this time to go for the manager and get him sacked. Let me ask, what people forget is that when he spoke about the manager, he spoke about a broken relationship between him and the manager. Now, what he did not define for many of us is who is responsible for the breakdown in relationship. But also, him knowing that the manager is responsible for making decisions in regards to who plays and who doesn't play, him being benched, he takes it to the account of the manager. Now, for Carragher to suggest that Mo Salah is trying to get the manager sacked, that is as if to suggest that Mo Salah has that influence on the Liverpool, the senior management team, Richard Hughes, and the sporting director and all the others. That's what he's alluding to. That's what he's trying to suggest. That is what he's trying to tell the world. That look here, Mo Salah is of that great influence that he can get a manager sacked. I do not want to believe so. If Arne Slot were to be sacked tomorrow, today, or a month from now, or many months from now, I do not think it will be on account of Mo Salah. It would be on account of either his poor performances, underperformances, or lack of, whatever the reason would be. But I do not think it will be on the account of Mo Salah. Again, typical of Yemi Karaga. Not that I would expect any better. The choice of words. Because for me, like I said, I'm not going to take a piece in regards to how people feel about this whole situation with Mohamed Salah. And because everybody is going to look at it in their own way, interpret it their own way. Let them think of it whatever they want to think of it. But the choice of words that they use are what will matter the most at the end of the day. So when you have Yemi Karaga talking about that Mo Salah has gone for the manager and wants to get him sacked, those are deliberate words. Mo Salah, he himself is not naive. Like I said, he would have expected this. So, but let's wait and see. It is what it is, hopefully they can get through it all. Hopefully football can win, But his importance to that Liverpool team cannot be underestimated. Do you think a part of Liverpool wishes that they had cut ties with Mo Salah at the end of last season? Because in addition, Jamie Carragher also added, and this is according to the touchline, he said, one thing I want to remind Mo Salah, and maybe his agent, before he came to Liverpool, Mo Salah was known as the guy who failed at Chelsea. That's just a fact. He's also the greatest player the country has ever had. Egypt in the AFCON are the most successful nation, but Salah has not won AFCON. That's not me trying to put him down. That is him trying to put him down, but trying to use the bat, as a player. But what it tells Mo Salah and his agent, it's not about him as an individual. You were not a star when you came to Liverpool. I would want to disagree. I think Mo Salah was already a star for Egypt. I think he was a star at AC Roma, unless you do not want to remember the things he had done at AC Roma before Jurgen Klopp signed him. Did he become a better player? Obviously, he's become a better player while at Liverpool. Isn't that what comes with maturity, with growing? He's given Liverpool the last 8 years, coming now on 9 years. So, okay, let's not use too many ifs here. What makes you think that he wouldn't have succeeded anywhere else other than Liverpool? When people say that when he says that most people that before he came to Liverpool, he was known as the guy who failed at Chelsea. Again, even at Chelsea, I do not want to believe that he's a guy who failed at Chelsea. And the reason for that is, and on here, I'm particularly not trying to defend Mo Salah as an individual, but how many players have failed under Jose Mourinho? Because he was the manager at the time. When does Joan Manuel Mata leave Chelsea to join Man United? Kevin De Bruyne was at Chelsea. When they signed him from Belgium, he was a star. He was a youngster, but he was a star. Did he not fail at Chelsea? Was it on his account that he failed? That when he went to Germany for 3 years, suddenly he came to the Premier League and he hacked it? So, when a player fails at the club, oftentimes it's not by his own account alone. Sometimes managers have to do with it. Sometimes players just fail to adapt to a new environment and it's just not them. So really, when you look at Mo Salah at Roma, I think I'd want to think that he did really, really well under Rudi Garcia at Roma before joining Liverpool. And that's what most people forget. For example, he was at FC Basel, where he played 47 games, scored 9 goals, and he joined Chelsea in 2014. He was there for a period of about 2 years. But during that very period is when he went actually out on loan. So he only made 13 appearances for Chelsea and scored twice. One of those goals he did score against Arsenal when they were beating up against Arsenal by 6 goals to nil. Arsene Wenger was marking his 1,000th game. I remember that game. So he gets sent out on loan to Fiorentina, where in 16 appearances he scored 6 goals. Then for 2015-2016, he goes to AC Roma on loan. He made 34 appearances and scored 14 goals. This was under Rudi Garcia. He was there for the subsequent season, 16-17. And in 31 appearances, he scored 15 goals. Then, that's when he leaves to join Liverpool. So, for a player who is 33 today, who you signed when he was what, 24, 25, thereabout, I do not think that was him failing. I do not think that's him not being a star. He was a darling at AC Roma. And again, and I do not want to think that Yemi Karaga doesn't know that. He selectively leaves that out. Intellectually dishonest, And he goes on to say that you are not a star when you came into Liverpool. No matter how good a player you are, You need help from the teammates, the manager, the fans. It's important. He remembers that when he's talking there. It's all about me, me, me. Now, again, that's Yemi Karaga choosing to interpret Mohamed Salah's words his own way. And that was bound to happen. But when you go to the full transcript of the interview, I don't know if I can find it quickly. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm failing to find the exact quote. But the things that Yemi Karaga says here, that that you need help from teammates, the manager, and the fans. Go back to the interview that he did 6 months ago with Sky. Gary Neville was in charge of that interview, and he spoke about his relationship with Alexander Trent-Arnold and how immensely he was going to miss him in the work that Alexander Trent-Arnold was set to leave the club at the end of the season. Do you know why he said he would miss him? Because they had a relationship. Because he knows it's a team sport. Because he knows what Trent Alexander-Arnold was to him in his success there. So Yemi Karaga trying to paint a picture that Mo Salah doesn't know it's a team sport is intellectually dishonest. He knows that Jurgen Klopp made him a better player. You think he doesn't know that? Ask him about his relationship, as competitive as it was between him and Sadio Mane, but also add Roberto Firmino to the context. You think he doesn't know that it's a team sport? If he doesn't know that it's a team sport, he wouldn't have had as many as 18 assists last season. Because all that time he passed the ball, could have looked to make it about himself. So, when he refers to himself in this particular context, again, intellectual dishonesty or choosing to leave out certain segments of the interview, he speaks about his broken relationship with the manager. He speaks about him being thrown under the bus or scapegoated as though he's the reason as to why Liverpool are underperforming. That's what he's talking about. He's not getting the same stick that he's not getting the kind of stick. Others are not getting the kind of stick that you're giving him. How many Liverpool players has Yemi Karaga called to be benched, for to be benched, other than Mo Salah during this bad spell for Liverpool? I'll leave that to you guys. So, again, Yemi Karaga, do not try to misconstrue words here. Meanwhile, Man United are 4-1 up against Wolverhampton Wanderers. I'm trying to ascertain who scored that fourth goal for Manchester United before we see out this broadcast, because it's been 1 hour and a minute. It's been a penalty from Bruno Fernandes. So United back to winning ways. That result will mean that they move to as high as 6th on the Premier League table with 24 points. With 25 points behind Chelsea, who have a better goal difference. Man United will have a positive 5 goal difference if it does finish that way. So, like I've said, I've not been able to watch the game the way I would have loved. So I won't give you the ins and out of it. Maybe if I catch some extended highlights before tomorrow morning's podcast, we'll have more to say about it, but it is what it is. Thank you so much for those of you that have been part of today's broadcast. Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you so much, Job. Thank you so much, Fred. Thank you so much, Nob. Thank you so much, RH6761, and every single one of you that has been patient with us, even during the breakdown of the internet, until when you came back. It's been a pleasure. Let's do this again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Bye bye from me and good night.